Hello, everyone, and welcome to Torah Before Shabbat TV. This is your host, Brother Jose. As every Tuesday, 8 p.m., we are here live. Just wanted to make sure that everyone is ready for the study. As we did last Tuesday, we did the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was amazing last Tuesday. Today's part 2. And we will be introducing again our brother Toby, who will be giving the presentation as always. And all the guys can put their videos and their mics back on, and we can all say hi to everybody, and then we'll take it from there. We'll do a quick prayer, and then we'll get this study going. So go ahead,
Shalom.
go for it. Shalom, Sterling. Go ahead, start it off.
We're going to do part 2 today.
All right, so we got part 2. We got Scott Drew with us, Drew Bishop, and we got, of course, Toby and Sterling. So shalom to all you guys, and thanks for being here with us. And as always, it's always a pleasure to be with you guys. And so let's do a quick prayer. Father God, we thank you for all the brothers that are here, Father, and we ask you that you just keep us enlightening us, Father, with your word. We thank for each and every brother and sister that come on the show. Father, it's all yours, Father, as always, Father. We ask you to keep blessing us and anointing us with your knowledge in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. All right. So as without further ado, let's introduce Brother Toby. You go for it, brother. Your mic is open to you, my friend.
All right. So tonight we are going to do a part 2 on the Dead Sea Scrolls. But tonight we are going to not cover any book particularly, but more or less look at a document, the only one of its kind that was found inside of the Dead Sea Scroll, or inside of the Qumran caves, was this particular calendar that the group of people who live there, which are the Nazarenes, that they go by. They are what they refer to themselves as a Yahad, and they have a calendar, and they keep the Sabbath in accordance with this calendar. So that's what we're going to go over today. There's been a lot of talk about the calendar on this particular station now for the last what has it been, 2 or 3 weeks?
I believe so. It's been 2-3 weeks. We're getting up there. Quite a few.
I think this is the 3rd week.
Yep.
This is the second
Third
week
week.
that you've been back, Toby.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So pretty much there's a lot of things that we can draw from the text of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I wanted to hit that just so that we're kind of all on the same page with the calendar, and so that tonight y'all are going to have the 2024 calendar. Y'all are going to have it. I'm going to give it all to you tonight. So now I do want to say that whenever we begin this presentation, there are some other people's works that I would like to acknowledge. So the guys over at Torah's Light, I do have some of their stuff off of their website. You can go to torahslight.org, and you can look at this stuff. I do have one picture from somebody's backyard in, I believe it's California, where they took a picture of SpaceX launching. And so other than that, I believe most everything's going to be mine, other than the clips that I show of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's coming out of that book that I told y'all about last week, which is called the definitive a new translation, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the comprehensive translation of the controversial ancient scrolls with materials never published before, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's got Michael Wise, Martin Abegg Jr., and Edward Cook. They're the guys who put that together. I don't make any money off telling you that. And I'm just trying to let you know that not all this is mine. I didn't discover, all this stuff. I just want to make sure that everybody gets credit for what they've done. I'm just trying to present it to y'all so that y'all understand what this group of people entered into a contract in, and essentially the differences that we see in their lifestyle through these documents that we're never told about, that most people don't have any clue about. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start mine. So here we go. All right. All right, how's that? Everybody see that all right? Everybody hear me all right? We cooking on all burners
Yes,
right
brother.
now? Okay.
Sound
So
great.
DSS, Dead Sea Scrolls, What You Don't Know Calendar Edition. Okay. And if any of y'all watch Carrie, he's got a circular calendar. I haven't seen his in detail, but it might look a little something like this, might not. So just real quick, the picture here, this is Mossad. I don't know if y'all know the history of it. If you don't, you should go look up, the history of it. It's one of the last holdouts whenever the Romans plundered the Promised Land in 69, 70 AD. This was the last holdout. So a lot of history there. It's very interesting, and it is right over there on the shore of the Dead Sea, right there, not too far away from where the Dead Sea Scrolls would have been found, from what I understand. So also, let me just go ahead and clear something up. Last week I didn't say anything about it, so this week I'm going to. I do not believe at all, because the writings don't indicate it, that nowhere in any of these writings can you find the word Essene. Okay, so we're not the Essenes. This is not an Essene calendar. The Essenes, they are not who was controlling these documents. So I just want to get that out there. Also, one other thing, I get kind of lax sometimes whenever I generalize things, but I did say that all the books of the Bible were validated in the Old Testament by these. There is one book that is not. It is Esther. It is a cause of division and contention. So I didn't acknowledge it, but there you have it. So that one wasn't found in the Dead Sea caves amongst the scrolls. So, all right, without further ado, here we are covering the basics of this calendar of theirs. So this calendar was a 364-day calendar. If you've ever read Enoch, then you know that Enoch talks about a 364-day calendar, and he says whenever the children come off of the 364-day calendar, they are going to make they're going to keep their feast and festivals out of their seasons, and they're going to make abominable days set apart days, and set apart days abominable days. So some of this stuff is very significant if you care on that level. If you've researched it out and you're at that point where you care when the Sabbath is, it's not on Sunday, it's not on some other day, it's on this day, on the seventh day, according to not this day right now, but I'm just saying, like, on the seventh day, that's when it is, and according to this calendar, that's when it's going to be at. So 52 weeks. If you divide 364 by 7, you get 52 weeks. That means there's 52 Sabbaths in a year. Okay, according to this calendar. There's not 53. There's 52. There's not 51. There's not 50. There's 52 every time. Okay. Can be broke up into 4 quarters. All right. Those 4 quarters are going to align with the seasons. There are 4 set apart days that happen right before we go into that next season. So if it's split up into 4, then that gives us 30 days, 30-day months. So 30, 30, 30, right? That's 90. And then we have plus 1, so 91. So we have 4 divisions of 91 days. If you track the seasons at all, it's going to sound like this is a seasonal thing. It's because there is 91 days according to this calendar in between each of our seasons, and we all know that we have 3 months in between each one of our seasons. So right now, if you don't know it, we had the winter sign in the heavens. So that would have been the solstice, and now we are in about halfway through the winter. We had the solstice in December, so we're about halfway through the winter. That's what marked. So we are, I think we're 45 days, 44, 43, something like that, somewhere around there, away from staring down the barrel of spring. Okay, so let's just keep moving right along. So some more basics here. The day begins at sunup, or right after the mixing of light into the darkness takes place. It ends at sundown, when the mixing of darkness with the light takes place. The words that we find for this in the Old Testament representing morning and evening are Bokor and Ereb. I have those defined on my next slide. So we will move through the rest of this information and look at what those two words mean for evening and for sunrise and sunset, or and so we'll go through and we'll check that out. So moving right on though, the sun rules the day, the months, the years. If we go into Genesis, if we go into Jubilees, we can see that there are several things, but right now, so the Jubilees, like these cycles, the sun's the one that we look to, right? It starts the year at the vernal equinox. There are six. If y'all don't know, that's the spring equinox. Okay. There are six gates that the sun and the moon move in and out of. And the moon has a year of its year. It comes in at 354 days. So it's 10 days shy of the sun. It has a pattern that we get out of the Dead Sea Scrolls 4Q320 of appearing on the first day of the first month as a full moon every 3 years. And it has a pattern as you move through 21 years of full moons as follows. The first week, so that whenever I say a week, I'm talking about 7 years. So if you think of it like a week of days, each one of those. Yes, the Shemitah cycle. That's a beautiful word to use right there. A Shemitah is 7. We actually keep the calendar with the group of men that I study with, which Drew and Sterling are a part of. And this is actually our Shemitah year. So this is very interesting getting to do this right now, because there are actually documents that we're going to look at that say, what do you do? And so you start to cycle over 1 through 7. And so we're about to go into a year 1. And in here, it covers what you do on a first year. And it also gives these signs like that we're going to check out. And, we're going to talk about this stuff. It's a little bit more than just the basics. So y'all just try to wrap your mind around it, and you can go back and you can do this as many times as you need to. It's going to be up on Jose's channel on Torah Before Shabbat right here where we're watching it at. So so Torah Before Shabbat, sorry. So anyways, let's move right on.
Torah Before Shabbat TV.
One more time.
The channel name is Torah Before Shabbat TV.
Sorry about that. Excuse me. Torah Before Shabbat TV. And thank you, Joe, for having us on. I do appreciate you. All right, Jose. Anyways, so let's keep moving on. The lunar solar conjunction. It talks about those as well. It's very interesting because we're going to have one of those for those who are looking into it around the 8th, I believe. So some of this stuff gets super detailed, and 4Q319, we're going to look at that a little more. We can, but that goes over those. So let's talk about the star year real quick too. So we know how many years the sun has in it. I'm sorry, how many days the sun has in it. So the day is going to have 364 days for a year. The moon is going to have 354 days for a year. And then the stars are going to have a yearly circuit of 365.25 if you want to go all the way that far out. And that's based on what we can calculate, based on what we can see. So that's how we get there. Okay, so here's a slide that has the definitions on it, Bokor and Areb. I got Brown's, Driver, Briggs over here on the left, and I got some Strongs over here on the right. The H6153, evening, night, sunset, Areb, evening, night, sunset, evening, sunset. You can see it. It tells you down at the bottom, it says a related word to H6150. So we go to H6150 right below it. To become dark, grow dark. Or to become evening, grow dark. Become evening, grow dark. To spend the evening, do it evening. Then that one refers us out to another place, H6148. Arab, right? Arab, however you want to say it in English. To pledge exchange, mortgage, engage, occupy, undertake. 4, give pledges. B, or become surety, take on pledge, give in pledge. Right. So pretty interesting here how we get from that root to what we got. So here it is in the Strong's, a Reb. Dusk plus or minus day, evening, so evening, eventide, night. H1650 Arab, right? So H1653 refers us to H1650, primitive root, rather identical with 6148. To grow dusky at dawn, to be darkened towards evening. And then we have over here Bokor. That's going to be a primitive root, properly to plow, to break forth. That is figuratively to inspect, admire, care for, consider, to seek, to inquire, to consider, to look for, to reflect. So those are all different understandings of
Why are those
Bokor
important?
ribs. So just think about that. I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, why are these definitions important to know?
These definitions are important to know because this is physically what's taking place whenever you have at 2 different points in the day, you have a mixing of the darkness and the light. And the darkness overtakes the light at the nighttime, and the light overtakes the darkness for the day. So whenever the morning time comes and the day at the very beginning of it mixes with the night, right? That's when we have Bokor. And just think about it. The light's coming in, it's piercing the darkness. So you see that BDB, the Brown Divers Biggs definition, to seek, to inquire, to consider, to look for. So it just kind of gives us like another layer, in the Hebrew of how they understood this. So that light's coming forward, it's seeking, and the primitive root to plow or to break forward. Just think about how, that plow pierces through that ground and breaks it up. Right. And then you see those rays of light come through the darkness in the wee morning hours, and you just see them start mixing. And then you see the rays of light coming and just, breaking through the darkness. The darkness isn't dark enough to engulf the light, But then on the other side of it, whenever we get to the other, into the evening, to become evening, let's see, over, which one was it?
So
Go ahead.
something I think is kind of interesting about this too is that a reb can be applied in both the morning and the evening. But today they only particularly apply it to the evening. Isn't that right?
That's right. You can have a Bokor, a reb, but you can't have how did it go?
I forget that saying. There can be a what was that? I don't remember. It's been a while since
the modern definitions are 3 removed from the root word. So if you look at a definition and it ever gets out of sync with the root word, it's probably been messed with. It's probably been tampered with. And
that's a great point.
This is so important to know because this tells us when to start the day. And so Jubilees 2:9 also tells us when to start the day. The weeks, the months, the years, Shemitahs, and Jubilees. And they all point to the sun. The sun starts everything. So the lesser light never follows the greater light. I was once told that by a pastor.
Yeah, so we can go back into the slideshow. No, you make a great point. This is something that we have to understand. That pastor was correct. The greater light never follows the lesser light, and in Jubilees 2:9 it does say that, and it also tells us in Genesis 1 as well. So I can't remember the exact verse in scripture, but what are we told, that 2 witnesses they establish a matter, right?
2 to 3 witnesses. So, yeah, I have to look that up.
All right. Well, I thought that it was going to go to all of us there, but I'm going to start sharing my PowerPoint again and we'll keep moving through. All right. So this is what it looks like right here. Bokor, and Areb look very similar. It's the mixing of light.
If you didn't know which
So
direction, you wouldn't know if it's a sunrise or a sunset, right?
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And yeah, all these could be sunrises or sunsets. They look the same. Yeah, and if you don't pay attention to that, start looking up in the mornings, like just checking it out, and then in the evenings check it out. Right after that sun, right before the sun pierces over the horizon and right after it goes behind the horizon, that is when the mixing happens. So whenever you see these first rays of light, that's the sun. That's the sun coming, and that is according to these people who lived in around this area of the Dead Seas. These people look for this, and that's when their day began and when their day ended. And it mattered because, as we're going to see as we progress through this, they have high Sabbaths that they are trying to keep at a certain time, and they cannot accomplish that if they do not know when the day begins and when the day ends. So, um, all right, so I wanted to read this, and then we're going to look at some scripture. My brother Drew is gonna read over that and talk about that after we get done reading this. So I'm reading this to establish that well, you'll see whenever I emphasize the words. This is what they're about. And I pulled this out. This is out of one called the War Scroll. And I pulled this particular one out because there is a dividing line. Okay. And I want y'all to see that. And that's why it matters when the day begins to these people for when versus what modern day Judaism keeps. This is in contrast to that. Modern day Judaism starts their day whenever the sun goes down. These people started their day whenever the sun came up. Sundown traditions come out of Babylon from the history that I understand. The earliest histories that I understand, I see it in Babylon. So let me go ahead and read this if y'all haven't already read it. And I just want y'all to know I got some writing on my screen that some of these things I can't see. So if I hit an X and I go away, I'm sorry. Like I'll try to get back as fast as possible. All right. Blessings of the war recited by all leaders after the victory. And the chief priest shall stand, column 13, and his brothers, the priests and Levites, and all the elders of the army with him. They shall bless from their station. Or let me fix that. Let me scrub that up a little bit. These are translators translating this. It doesn't say bless there. It says Barak or something along those lines in Hebrew. It does not say bless. So they shall Barak from their stations, the Elohim of Israel, and all his works of truth, and they shall curse Belial there and all the spirits of his forces. And they shall say in response, blessed is the Elohim of Israel for all his set apart purpose and his works of truth. And blessed are all those who serve him righteously, who know him faithfully. And cursed is Belial from his contentious purpose, and accursed for his guilty dominion. And cursed are all spirits of his lot for their wicked purpose. Accursed are they for all their impure, unclean service, for they are the lots of darkness, but the lot of Yahweh is light eternal. You are the Elohim of our fathers. We will barak your name forever, for we are an eternal people. You made a covenant with our fathers and established it for their seed through the ages of eternity. And I will prove that with another writing from the Dead Sea Scrolls here towards the end. So there is another witness to that as well that we can you could use to draw on. Anyways. In all the appointed times of your glory, there has been a remembrance of your kindness in our midst as a help for the remnant and provision for your covenant, and to recount your works of truth and the judgments of your wondrous strength. O Yahweh, created us for yourself as an eternal people, and into the lot of light you cast us for your truth. Your you appointed the Prince of Light from of old to assist us. For in his lot are all the sons of righteousness, and all spirits of truth are in his dominion. You yourself made Belial for the pit, an angel of malevolence. His dominion is in darkness, and his counsel is to condemn and convict. All the spirits of his lot, the angels of destruction, walk in accordance with the rule of darkness, for it is their only desire. But we, in the lot of your truth, rejoice in your mighty hand. We rejoice in your salvation and revel in your help and your peace. Who is like you in strength, O Yahweh of Israel? And yet your mighty hand is with the oppressed. What angel or prince is like you for your effectual support? For from of old you appoint for yourself a day of great battle. Corruption in the text. To support truth and to destroy iniquity, to bring darkness low and to lend might to light. To corruption in the text, for an eternal stand and to annihilate all the sons of darkness and joy for all the sons of light. We can stop right there. So let me just go ahead and pull it out of this. All right, Drew, you ready to come on screen? Y'all want to talk about what I just read? Let's talk about that text for a moment while Drew gets ready. Can you clearly see how they delineate between themselves and these other people that are around them? The ones who own the temple, they're the sons of darkness. Their high priest, that's the priest of darkness. And you can see that like they delineate between these people.
Sterling, can you pull up those scriptures and share them on your screen?
Oh yeah.
Start with Matthew 28:1. I want to hit John 20 verse 1 last.
Give me just a second.
And Drew, would you tell us? I know, but talk to us about why we're going to talk about what's in these 4 books real quick before you jump into them.
Okay, so all these 4 books they're the same accounts. The only one that was the eyewitness of this account is John. So I want to go to him last because I've got more to talk about on John. But all these are the same accounts. They speak of the exact same thing. Somebody that's going to rebut when the day starts at sunrise will go to John 20 verse 1 and say, look, it's still dark. But I'll show you why that's not the case.
So Matthew 20 verse 1 is what you're looking for?
Yeah, 28 verse 1.
Okay.
Hey, can you make your video big, or am I the only one that's big on here? Can y'all share your screen too?
Yeah, just give me a second. I was just getting it ready. Shoot. Matthew 28. Sorry, once I get this up and big. 28:1. Okay, do you want any particular version?
It doesn't matter. TS 2009 is easier for me to read.
Okay. There's
It's because I'm used to it.
All right. Matthew 28:1. Can you see that?
Still loading. There we go. In the ending of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary of Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. So at the ending of Sabbath, the Sabbath's ending, as it began to dawn into day 1 of the week. So when is dawn? Dawn is at Boker, which is what Toby just showed you with those Strong's words that he broke down for you. Boker happens when the light breaks forth in the morning. So if you look at the ancient Hebrew, it looks like a plow tool breaking forth through the dirt. So that would be a a picture of the light breaking forth through the darkness. Now go to Mark 16, verse 1. And when the Sabbath was past, Miriam from Magdala and Miriam, the mother of Jacob, and Shalomo bought spices to go and anoint him. So, same story. Sabbath has passed. It's early in the morning on day 1 of the week. Let's go to Luke 24, verse 1. And on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, bringing the spices which they had prepared. So, when's early dawn? That only happens one time during a 24-hour period. And it's in the morning, and it's usually still dark. You can see the sun starting to glow over the horizon. But if you go outside, you're going to need a flashlight to see anything. So let's go to John 20, verse 1. So this is the one everybody wants to say, well, look, it's still dark. So the Sabbath can't begin at dawn. And on the first day of the week, Mary of Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been rolled from the tomb. All right. So can you click on the Strong's word for still?
It's going to be Greek, I believe.
Yeah, that's fine. It's eti. It's G2089.
Still, I don't see it in him. First day of the week, early when it was yet dark.
Yet.
So,
Yeah, yet and still are the same word.
Hey, and this is the only eyewitness account. The rest of them are
Yes.
a repeat, right? So this is out
Can
of
you
the
see
horse's
that?
mouth.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so perhaps akin to yet still of a time or degree after that, also ever any further, henceforth more, hereafter any longer, not dark any longer, any more, now yet still. So I've got a little different version on my Strongs, and it's a little easier to understand. So the number one definition of yet and still is of time, of a thing which went on formerly. So that darkness was something that had went on formerly. So this verse completely coincides with Mark, Luke, and Matthew. It's not a discrepancy. So we can see that the ending of Sabbath was the beginning of day 1 of the week at early dawn. Sabbath does not start and end at evening. That's a false teaching. I'll give it back to you, Toby.
Take it away.
All right, so some people said I had an echo.
At the bottom of that last slide, you had it. You didn't read that last piece. It said that this is what they read before they go into battle. I believe that's what it said in there. So they're reciting that.
Well,
or
that's for the next.
meditation.
That's for the next one.
Oh, okay.
Right. So at the top of this one, we have the blessing of the war recited by the leaders after the victory.
Okay, and then before, so
Yeah.
okay.
So I I think that's the right order. So this started at the end of the second page before I flipped, and then this is on the next page over. So that's what you're seeing there. Okay.
Is there
Day
any
1,
history
month
on the
1.
War Scroll?
I'm sorry?
Sorry.
What's that?
I was just wondering about history of the War Scroll like this. I've heard about it before, but I don't know that much about it. So it's just was it known about before the Dead Sea Scrolls were found is what I guess I'm curious about.
This is
Is
a
it
book that
something
most people aren't really
that
going to
could
be
have
able to
been in
talk to
our
you about.
scriptures beforehand?
I don't think that most people know anything about this document. This is not this is not one of the more popular texts that comes out of it, but it is one of the larger texts that comes out. But there's a lot of things inside of this War Scroll that if it's like they say, then we got some big problems in modern religions across the board. It's not just Christianity. It's in Judaism. It's across the board. And yeah, so this isn't one that they go to and highlight and teach on all that often for those reasons, but it's a very intriguing text. The text is talking about a war that's going to break forth between the sons of light, which are the ones who keep this calendar, and the sons of darkness. And the sons of light are they are of the Zadok priestly line, the righteous Zadok line. They come from Aaron and Aharon, and they are the rightful heirs to the high priesthood. The sons of darkness are the ones who usurped the high priesthood and expelled them, and they are the ones who were in control of Second Temple whenever it got destroyed. And that happened, if you'll recall our little history lesson last week, that happened during the Maccabean times, which puts us somewhere around 170, between 160 and 170, maybe a little bit, maybe 175 BCE. Before the Common Era is whenever a lot of this stuff started to play out, at the arrival of King Antiochus and his deal that he was willing to make, and that our high priest then, Onias III, was not willing to make. And his brother was, though, ultimately killed him. And well, we got the rest of the story last week. Go back and check it out if you haven't seen it. So anyways, moving forward, day 1, month 1. So, but that's when the calendar, or when the War Scroll is all about. So, keeping it in context there, go back and check it out, read it. It's what did I say that document number was? I don't know. I'll go back and find it. Anyways, day 1, month 1. How do we know when the first day of the first month of the first year is? Right. So whenever we see the sign in the heavens that lets us know that we're starting it, what we will be witnessing is the spring equinox, called the vernal equinox, and we'll see another one in the fall called the autumnal, and the sign in the heaven is whenever that you need a sundial, whatever kind you choose, but on your sundial the line will be straight. If it bends, then you missed it or it hasn't happened yet. So let's say that happens on a Friday. Okay, well, in order to make this calendar work, we always start on the 4th day of the week. It's the very middle of the week. And here in a minute, we're going to have Drew give us an example of what, to kind of make this line up with a visual that he's prepared to show us. But it always starts on the 4th day of the week. We intercalate back to it in the same week. Now, there might be some out there who do this a little bit differently and go outside of the week. I'm not real sure how you can do that, because I think that you shift time when you do that. So I think it's very important to stay in the week that that it happens in. So now from there, from day one, right? We're going to count 14 days, and that is going to be when our spring feast begin. We will go through that cycle, and at the end of the waving of the barley, we're going to count 7 weeks of 7. That's going to bring us into the summer feast, and then from there we're going to count another 7 weeks of 7, and that is going to bring us into the fall feast. For all those who have no idea about the second 7 weeks of 7 count, it's totally okay, not a problem. We're what you didn't know, right? And that's what we're covering. So, and I'm going to walk you through and show you these things that you may not be familiar with the help of my brothers here. So that's what we're gonna move into and talk about how to arrive properly at these times, because they are appointed times. What does that mean? What is appoint? They are an appointment for us with the Father. Now, what happens if you have a doctor's appointment and you show up the next day after the doctor's appointment and didn't show up on the day of it? Drew, what happens whenever you don't?
But yeah, in this case, you're going to be rescheduled till next year.
Right. Yeah. Or the next feast that you know, the next appointed time. So we have a few of them, you know, but make no mistake about it. If you miss one of these, even if it's unintentional, and which look, man, I'm 37 years old. I've been doing this for like 7 years now. I missed a lot of them. Okay. But I still missed them. You know what I'm saying? So the fourth command is, what is it? Keep Sabbath. Right. So I haven't always kept Sabbath. That's what I'm getting at. And that's why this is so important to understand.
Well, we need to be like the 5 virgins that were prepared, that prepared themselves. They had oil in their lamp.
Right? Yeah. Hey, no. That's a great point. Tell the audience about that so that they can understand when you say that. Would you go into a little detail about that?
Sure. So what I thought of was, you know, the 5 foolish virgins and the 5 wise virgins. You know, 5 had oil in their lamps and 5 didn't. What is that oil? That's the Spirit. You're preparing yourself. You know, you're doing, you're performing righteousness. You're following the commandments. The 5 wise virgins, you know, obviously they followed the commandments. The 5 foolish, they obviously didn't. You know, they had some kind of problem. So, you know, keeping the feast it's important to Yahweh. So
it is, and now I don't have it right in front of me. This kind of just like come to mind, but it's either in Exodus or Deuteronomy, and it's probably in both, to be honest with you. But we're told that whenever we do these things, it's counted as righteousness unto us. That's a key word there. That oil in those lamps. What do you think that was?
That's the Spirit, the Ruach. I don't know.
Well, you can't buy the Spirit. It says, tell them, go buy it. You know, so what is buying it? It's the same thing that the rich young man who called the Messiah a good teacher, and he rebuked him and said, only the Father is good. Doesn't he tell him to go sell everything that he has and give the money to the poor, and then you'll have treasures in heaven? Right. So, and they say in that parable, go buy some more. So I think that it relates to, you know, the righteous act of giving somebody money. It's real low hanging fruit on that, you know, how you can gain righteousness scale. You know, we can get it from doing his will, keeping his commands. We can give people in need something, you know, and money. So personally, that's what I think. What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I think all of the above. I think you're right. I think keeping the feast, if you have a heart and a desire to seek the Father, and you know, then that is, you know, you're going in the way of the 5 wise virgins. I would say you're walking in that path. You're walking after that path. So I think it's important to want to do it, you know, according to how He lays it out, and not haphazardly. You know, so
Drew. I totally agree with you, Sterling. Drew, would you go ahead and show us that visual?
Yeah, I can. I don't have it on my computer. Do you have it, Sterling?
Yeah, you want me
You
to
can do that thing where you annotate, right, and draw. If I
on the
stop
whiteboard?
sharing my screen.
Yeah, I can draw it on the whiteboard. It won't be very pretty, but I can draw it.
I
That's
can
all
bring
right.
up
Yeah,
a
just like you
picture
did earlier.
but- Okay.
Is that going to cover me up? Jose, is there a way to make what Drew's about to do bigger than me?
Whiteboard. There you go.
Yeah,
let's-
There it is.
You
Yeah.
should be able to use it.
Is this what you're talking about, Toby?
Yes, sir.
Look at that. He's a good artist. That looks like you've been doing this.
So this is the menorah. Everybody knows what this is. So the menorah shows you all kinds of stuff. One of the interesting things is it shows you the day, shows you the feast. It shows you the gates in Enoch and how the sun moves through the gates. It's really fascinating. There's more to this study too. We actually the first video we done with on Jose's channel, go back and watch it. I shared a little bit of it.
420.
So this is just the days of the week. So we go 1 through 7, Monday through Shabbat. It's interesting though. Number 4 is taller than the rest, and it's every day is connected to that center stem, which is number 4. There's a reason for that. Number 4 is always the high day. Every high day on the Zedek calendar is the 4th day of the week. The day we start our year, which is one of the highest days of the year, or that gets you on track for the rest of the year, is the 4th day of the week. We go to the equinox and then the 4th day of the week. The 4th day of the week is the first day of the first month of your year. So the first high day of unleavened bread is on the 4th day of the week. Shavuot is on the 4th day of the week. The first and last day of Tabernacles is on the 4th day. So it's pretty important. And you want me to show the day, or you want me to show the feast and everything?
Yeah, you go as far as you want. Go ahead. You can even show the pattern that we just talked about. That's established by that Qumran text, the 21-year cycle. Didn't we just talk about that, or am I getting ahead of myself?
I haven't done that with the menorah yet. I'm sure I can. So your first feast is going to be Passover. It's kind of hard to write on here. Your second feast is going to be unleavened bread. Your third feast is going to be first fruits. Your fourth feast, which is the signing of the covenant. So it's also your center stem. The signing of the covenant is what connects you with the Father. It's what connects us with our brothers and sisters. That's how I'm connected to Toby and Sterling and Jose and Scott Drew. All these people are connected through the signing of the covenant, which is, I believe it's probably one of the most feasts, or should be the one of the most important feasts there is, and that's Shavuot.
Without it, none of the rest of them really matter.
Correct.
They may not even be there.
The fifth feast is trumpets. Sixth feast is atonement. And the last feast is tabernacles, or Sukkot. So there's the feast days. If we erase all this, then I can show you the gates. It's a little different on the gates because I've got to do it upside down. So this is the view of the horizon. So right here's your equinox. Right here's your summer solstice. Right here's your winter solstice. All right, so how the sun moves is the first day of the first month of the year is going to be right here. I don't know if you can see that little dot. Each gate has 30 days within the gate. This is gate 4. So the fourth gate is when you start your year. It's interesting, is number 4. It's also when all the high days are. So you
It's
start
also when the sun was made.
Yes. So all the luminaries made on the fourth day. We start the first day of the first month on the equinox on the fourth day of the week, and most of our holy high days are on the fourth day of the week. 4 is a pretty important number.
Time started
Yes.
whenever that happened, and that was the first mixing that happened, and that happened on the fourth day of creation. Like that's why this all lays out like this. It all lines up together.
So the sun moves through each gate. 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. Then you got +1 for the summer solstice. That's your first intercalary day. Then it's going to go back 30, 30, 31.
That's 6 gates.
Yes. So what is that? That's 6 months right there. It takes 6 months to get from the first day of the year to trumpets, which is going to be the fall equinox. So your first equinox to your second equinox. 30, 30, 31. Winter solstice. 30, 30, 31. You're back to your equinox, first day of the first year.
6 on both sides.
So there's more that the menorah shows. I'm still working on some of that.
Right on.
Maybe next time I'll have more.
All right. Okay, let me go back to my PowerPoint. You have any questions in the chat? So just kind of like hit you up with what we're looking at here while we see if there's anybody got any questions. All these pictures except for one of them I took. That's the blood moon right there for one of them. That was, you see it's kind of off center, man. That thing's always moving whenever you got a camera on it, you know. So sometimes it ain't always perfect, but I thought it was a cool shot. The picture right next to it, I took that after I visited a cave up here where I'm at in North Georgia, checking it out, trying to see if there's anything I can find on it. I actually found a dollet in stone. The door, like, I don't know, it didn't really lead to anything. I don't know. But I suspect that if it was legitimate, then it was probably put there by the people who used to live here, who they say didn't have a language until an uneducated man gave them their language. But that's not for right now. The picture below that, that is a picture from somebody's backyard that took snapped a shot of SpaceX flying. And then this other picture right here on the left bottom, that's a picture that I snapped. That is driving over the bridge going to in Alabama, a place called Lake Wise. And you can see there how the mixing takes place, and right there on that horizon. So, any questions? No questions?
Good pictures.
Yeah.
Bo had a comment.
Brother Toby.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Scott.
I just wanted to ask, not to derail anything, but you said that you saw a dollet above the cave. How clear and certain are you that it was actually a dollet? Was it?
I got a picture of it. I've showed it to my brothers. It looked just like one, man. And it was not over the entrance of the cave. It was actually on the back side of the cave, where you would not have known that there was an entrance to it if you did not do a little bit of work and go up and around.
It was pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked at it and saw it immediately. It was like, oh man, that's a dollet, you know. like I said, I didn't find anything else, but I didn't have no tools out there, and I wasn't trying to deface or move something that might have met, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all in rocks,
Sure.
but you just never know. So like I kept my hands off pretty much everything, you know, just trying to be respectful. It
Yeah,
wasn't
for
my
sure.
property. But I mean, I got a picture of it. I can go through my phone and I can probably find it for you.
That's
if you wanted
wild,
to see
brother.
it. Yeah. No, it was really crazy whenever I saw it. I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is legit, like, but man, it sure does look like it. So I got super excited whenever I saw it. You know, I mean, since you brought it up, we can spend 30 more seconds on it. But if you've heard of the Back Creek Stone, right?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so just up there around Cleveland, there's a creek, and it's called Back Creek, right? Well, there were some explorers, and they found this stone. It's called the Back Creek Stone. You can totally Google it. You can get the whole history on it, everything. But they didn't know what it was ultimately, and it was at a museum or something like that. Maybe I got the details a little bit wrong, but there was a guy who saw it, and he asked them, the people who were showing it to him, if they knew what it was, and they were like, "No, it's never been translated. We don't know what these letters are." And the guy told them that it might be easier if you turned it over because it's upside down. And the guy looked at him, you know, like, "What?" And it turned out the guy was like a rabbi or something, and he's like, "That's Paleo Hebrew, and it's upside down. That's the 10 words. Like that's the commands." That was found. Paleo Hebrew was found in a creek outside of Cleveland, Tennessee, in North Georgia.
That's
right?
amazing.
And that's the
That's
last.
awesome.
You're right. That's the last stronghold of the Cherokee Nation as well. And so, for those of you who don't know much about the Cherokee Nation, I believe they were a priestly tribe, and I believe that they absolutely do have ties to the Holy Land. Some people, their own people, claim that they're from the tribe of Dan. They have. I've read a PhD dissertation from a man who stayed with them and during some of their festivals, and they had one that was a festivals of booths, and it was to the creator of everything, and I believe that they even called his name Yahweh. So dude, super interesting stuff. If you've never gone and looked into that history, quit listening to what the government tells you. Go check out some history books, you know, like get out there and beat the streets.
And as would happen, I'm actually in North Georgia, so
nice.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Toby 100%. I got a couple books that is documentaries back in 1814, and they say the same. They say that they are part of the lost tribes of Israel. Yes, they are.
Let me give you just
Phil
one
had
more
a
thing
comment.
that I thought was super fascinating. Then we'll go to Sterling's comment. In this book of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's not going to let me open it and show you. It's going to disappear on me whenever I do it. All right. So like if I move around too much, I know it won't catch it. It never does. It shows it right then, but then it won't. There is actually a portion in that text that look, I can pull it up on my phone just so that I don't mess it up. So they called, if you go into the older writings back in the 18 and 1700s, in the Cherokee's own language, their name wasn't Cherokee. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, and I don't remember the pronunciation of it off the top of my head either, but I do remember the meaning. And the meaning is cave dwellers. I thought that was super interesting, right? And so as I'm going through these Dead Sea Scrolls and I'm reading up through this book on it, I found this one particular part of the text, and let me see, is this where it says it? The medieval writer Al-Biruni spoke of a Jewish sect called the cave dwellers, the Yahad, or descendants. This group followed a lunar calendar in which the month began with a full moon. So it's given us some history on some other writings that are a little bit close to our time, where they were actually talking about these same group of people. But the writer who wrote that referred to them as cave dwellers. And the Cherokee Indians, obviously, based on some of the history that I know, I believe that they get their roots from back there. And so I think it's very interesting how we got the same name showing up in these texts that are miles apart, years apart, centuries apart, all that. So, Sterling, what do you want to say?
Wow.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that Bill had a comment in the chat there. He was saying that that four, Dalit is the number four. It represents four, and it represents Yahushua, the door. So
It does, absolutely. I'm so
points to the
glad that
Messiah.
Bill threw that out there.
So
yeah, in the paleo, it's a door, and it looks like the tent of a door popping open. It looks like a backwards four, sort of. So, but if you can imagine like them tents that they give you when you're in the army, those halves, it's got that split right there in the front of that triangle, and it's got that split, that door opening up. That's what that's what Dalit is indicating, the door. Yeah. So thank you, Bo.
cool.
That you're absolutely spot on. I'm so glad you didn't let us miss that. All right, guys, y'all ready for me to move on?
Yeah, brother.
All right. So this is where it's where the rubber meets the road. I told y'all I was going to give you the calendar. Here it is. Okay, on the right-hand side, I want y'all to pay attention to this. This is one of those visuals that I got from Torah's Life. Definitely go and read their basics. If you don't know anything about this, they're a great resource. And you will not go wrong going through their material, and hopefully you will be led to other material. But what we have there on the right is a complete breakdown of the calendar according to how the Zadok priesthood would have understood it. This does not have any type of Julian calendar or any other type of calendar imposed on it. This is the 30-day months. Okay, so now I am breaking it down, and I am showing you on our calendar, the Gregorian calendar, when this happens, okay, for us this year. Now, I want to make a disclaimer. We cannot start our year until when? Anybody?
Till the equinox. Till
the equinox, right? So, and then we have to make it back to the fourth day once we have the equinox, right? So if it didn't happen on a 4th day. So here's a visual of that. So, but this is where day 1 starts. So from there, right, that's our day of remembrance is right before it. And so March 19th, and then Abib 1 is March 20th. Passover is 14 days after that. That brings us into April the 2nd. Okay. If you go and you look at this, if you go and look at your own calendar, right, you're going to see that April the 2nd falls on the 3rd day of the week, and that ULB starts on the 4th day of the week. As my brother Drew just explained, the high days happen in the middle of the week on the 4th day. And there's a lot of layers for symbolism and types and shadows on that 4th day. So now, unleavened bread starts the next day. Now, look, I just want to point something out. This isn't to cause division. This is to point out the division so that everybody understands everybody. Because whenever we all get on the same page and we're all working off the same sheet of data, there's going to be a whole lot less division. Okay, so let me.
Hallelujah.
Right, and that's really what we want. That's one of the main purposes of this,
Yes.
is to show what they're doing, right? And they're the oldest that we have, and that's where I'm going to put my lot is there with the oldest that I can find, that I find to be the most accurate. And this is it. These are the guys right here. Like, and so I do want to.
What's that
point
verse
out
that says, "Seek the ancient paths where the good way is"?
That's right. Yeah, do you got that in front of you?
In my brain.
Oh, somebody look that up. That's a good one. It's perfect. Like, somebody look that up.
Unstable internet right now. So.
Right on. If somebody look that up, Scott or Drew, if y'all are, brother Jose, if you're able to do that while I talk about where our division is, and so that y'all can understand. Not y'all, but the viewer can understand. So if one of y'all pull that up for me, and then we'll read it, right? So, all right. So there is a division. It's just like what these guys were dealing with in darkness and light. There are some people who, along with Judaism, keeps their day at sundown. Okay. And then we keep our day at sunup. It matters. One of the places that we find where there are points of contention is in the Sefer. We have a version that says that you keep the Passover on a 15th. It's the only place that you're going to find it. All the other texts say the 14th. Okay. Now, the 14th, if you're looking at it from a historical perspective, the way that someone in Judaism would, they're going to say that that starts at sundown, right? And so they're going to wait till the evening of the 14th, where sundown is, in order to get to the 15th. Okay. And so there's division there, because some will cook on the 14th, but they won't eat until the day is gone, so that they're eating it on the 15th. All right. And then there are others who would contend, and I'm on this side of the house, where we should eat it on the 14th. And so according to my reckoning, with sun up, the 14th doesn't happen until the sun comes up again. And we're underneath a very specific command to make sure that it's burn up. And so that's the reason why I throw my lot on the 14th with the sun uppers, is because I'm trying to get that, according to the text, we need to have it burn up by the morning time. Whenever the morning comes, if we didn't finish it all, it's sacred. We're not to leave it there. We burn everything, including the bones, right? And so because of that, that's where, but there's division there. And there's other people who will tell it to you differently. We are splitting hairs on something that, the Father may have a problem with, or he may not. I don't know. And that's not for us to talk about right now. I just want to show that there is a difference to some people. But in order to go with how these people that had the caves, the documents in the caves of the Dead Sea, the owners of those scrolls, they would have gone with the sun up. And so that's why I'm pointing this out, is because whenever you go into that Maccabean literature to get a history lesson of the Second Temple time period, you're going to see that that's where the difference is that the Greeks came in, King Antiochus came in, and he changed the times, and he ultimately wanted them to get on their calendar, and so that would desecrate the Most Highs. And he wanted them to desecrate the Most High and all their Sabbaths in every way that they could, according to the history that I read and understand about that time period. And so that's whenever we started having this major division. So it's gone on for a really long time. It's been like 2,300 years, 2,200 something years. So this has been around for a while, guys. So it is what it is. I just want to point that out. It does matter. We're going to move forward through this, and we're going to see other texts that support that it does matter. Okay. And so that's why we talk about it like this. So anybody got that scripture?
I think I've got it.
I don't. Sorry. My internet went out. So
Drew, did
Are
you
you
grab
talking
it?
about Jeremiah 18?
Yes, the paths of old. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But my people have forgotten me. They have burned incense to what is false, and they have stumbled from their ways, from the ancient paths, to walk in my bypaths and not on a highway. Is that it?
I think if you keep going, it tells them to seek the ancient past, and they find peace in that. If you keep reading, am I right?
It's in verse 16. Verse 16, I believe.
Stand in the middle of the way and ask for the paths of old. Isn't that what it says?
I'm not seeing it on here.
He's calling them back.
16 verse 20, or 16 to 20. Stand ye in the highways and see, and ask for the old paths where the good way is, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein.
Hallelujah. That's it. Yep. And that's where we are today. Like, we have this division, right? So it matters for us when we keep the Passover. It matters when we keep ULB. ULB is on that fourth day of the week. This year it's going to start on April the 3rd. On the 1st and the 7th day, you have a set apart gathering. That'll be April the 3rd and April the 9th. Okay,
Now,
and those. Go ahead.
Let's make it clear that Passover and unleavened bread are not the same feast. They're separated in Leviticus 23 for a reason. They're kept on 2 separate days.
Yes, they are. And here's the thing. There's some people that will say, well, you're supposed to keep the Passover with unleavened bread. You are, and you should. But that does not mean that day you have to abstain from leavened bread before or after the Passover meal. And it doesn't mean that you have to have all the leaven out of your house before ULB happens. You have to have it. I said that wrong. You don't have to have it all out before the Passover. You have to have it all out before ULB, the sun up the next morning. So you can still have that in your gates at Passover. So we haven't lost or gained a day according to whatever anybody might say about, well, you're keeping ULB 8 days or whatnot. No, it's literally that one meal that we are distinguishing with leavened and unleavened bread. The rest of the day we can have whatever we want, all the way till the next day. So 3 Sabbaths take place during ULB unleavened bread. The first day, the 7th day, and then the weekly Sabbath. The 1st and 7th days are high Sabbaths of it. So, and let me just go ahead and point this out. None of the Sabbaths interfere with another Sabbath. That's huge. Most people's calendars run into interference. I've been around long enough to see other people's calendars. I've studied them. Most people's calendars have interference between 2 Sabbaths. So we just have to make sure that we that we understand that no Sabbaths, according to how they understood things, none of their Sabbaths were intermingling with each other or canceling out another. I've been in a situation before where we had, what was it? Was it Passover fall on the Sabbath?
Yeah, we had Passover fall on a Friday evening, which at that time we was keeping an evening to evening Sabbath, and it wasn't a Zadok calendar. Right,
and so I'm just saying, like, I've been there. I'm not bashing anybody. Like, the purpose of this walk is for us to grow. There's some people out there that are going to see this and they're going to say, Toby, I'm like 65, I'm like 70, and I'm seeing this. Like, what about everything else I've learned my whole life? Look, in the New Testament, we have we see the word babes come out a few different times. Like, we are supposed to grow, and so it's okay. The point is that you grow eventually, and so, and it's the Ruach leading you to it. It's not the devil or some type of flesh thing. If you're here and you're ready to grow, it's because the spirit of truth led you to that. Yeshua left to go to his Father so that he could send that spirit to us so that it could accomplish its task that he set it on. And that task, if you're being moved towards this, is a part of what the spirit of truth was tasked with telling you. You're that important that Yeshua sent that spirit to you. It knows you by name. That's some serious stuff right there. You want to be in it or you want to ignore it, so don't think that you can't grow just because you've been doing the same thing for so long. That's a lie of the enemy. Don't believe it. You can grow whenever you're prompted to by the Spirit in the name of Yeshua and by his blood. That's how that's accomplished. So moving on. All right. So first fruits of barley, the wave offering. We're going to talk about this for a minute. Okay. So I know that there are people who I know personally that think that I have gotten my marbles out of sorts and I'm out of whack, because if you look at this, we keep the wave offering on the 14th. Okay. If you have a calendar in front of you, you're going to see that we have passed the Sabbath of that week, the 7th day Sabbath of that week, and we've gone into the first day of the next week. And that is where we begin our count, right? So that's day one, right? And that's day one of the Omer that we're supposed to count 50 of, right? And so, and why is that? Because 7 weeks of 7 right? There's that pattern. 7 weeks of 7 times 7 is 49. And on the day after the 50th day, right? And so on the day after the 49th day, the 50th day, that's whenever you hit your next feast. That's Shavuot, right? So let's talk about that for a minute. Drew or Sterling, would y'all like to add anything about the feast or the first fruits
I would.
of wheat?
So it's interesting that you count 7 times 7 is 49. That's 7 Shemitahs. So if we look at it in Shemitah years, the 50th year is your Jubilee, which is the same count we have for counting up to Shavuot. First fruits. Yeah. The first fruits is pretty interesting. I don't believe it's only talking about the first fruits of barley. I think it's also encompassing the wheat, oil, and wine. So when it talks about first fruits in Leviticus 23, I believe it's talking about all the first fruits.
I'm with you. I do too.
Yeah, I agree.
And if the viewer doesn't know it yet,
all the feast days are surrounded around a harvest. And I mean,
that's it.
You get the barley, the wine, and the oil, and then Sukkot is about the ingathering of all that, So.
Right, and check this out. Here's another type in shadow. If the viewers don't know about it, whenever we come out of the 7 weeks of 7 and we count the 50th day, that puts us into the first fruits of wheat, of the wheat harvest. Now, whenever Yeshua ascended to the Father, he had to present the first fruits whenever he went. He did not go empty-handed. He took his own blood and he took the first fruits with him, right? So, of the barley harvest. So there's different ages according to how we understand this. And so the next harvest that should be seen according to the scriptures is the wheat harvest. And if you get down on some background like what I have in that deep Southern Baptist tradition, then that harvest is going to take place on what the Baptists would call Pentecost, but the actual Hebrew name is Shavuot, right? And so and then like Sterling pointed out, we have a couple of more harvests there that so the last one that we do is the end harvest gathering, but we got 2 before that. We have the new wine and the new oil, and so and there's actually another one, new wood. Go ahead.
I don't think I heard you mention it's a 50-day count to each one of these, right?
Yeah, I covered that. Way to bring it back up again, because it's very important from one to another. So whenever we did that first waving of the barley with the bread. So if y'all don't know this is what they do. They go and they bake their bread from that first fruits that they get, and the high priest takes it and he waves it. That's it. That's the wave offering. All right. That's how I understand it. It's about that simple. Okay.
Something pretty interesting about the new wine and new oil is when you read the account of Moses when he goes up the mountain. If you do the timeline of how many days he stays up there, he comes back down again and then goes back up again and then comes back down again and then goes back up again. Well, if you count the timeline, he stays up there for 40 days, comes back down. Well, he's observing these feasts that are 50 days apart, and then going back up to the mountain again, and then coming back down to observe again.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Whenever and that's the thing. That's what I want. That's what I want the viewer to get. This is all a history that builds on itself. And there is so much that we haven't been told. There's so much that we don't know, that we aren't able to correlate these things on that level, like what you just told and showed the viewer, where, as he's going down and coming back up, we know that there's other times if we just, start in Exodus 19 and just start reading, we're going to see him make multiple ascents and descents of that mountain, and so, yeah, all these things begin to line up whenever we understand, and whenever we get a little bit further into it, there's going to be some other days there that we're going to talk about, known as the 10 days of of all, so let's see. So whenever we count 7 weeks of 7, that brings us to the first fruit of the new wine on July the 21st. But before we get there, we have a seasonal change. That seasonal change moves from the fall to the summer, and that's 90 days plus 1. So that plus 1 is the Day of Remembrance. That happens on June the 18th. The following day after that is day 1 of the summer. So like that's where we're going to spend the next 90 days plus our intercalendary day of 1, and then we'll arrive at the next season. Okay, so so the first fruits of new oil this year, it is going to happen. That's 7 weeks 7 right there. It brings us to September the 8th, and then shortly after that, we're gonna be going into, because September is, what is it? September the 20th is the generalization of when we have our
fall equinox.
Our next equinox, the vernal.
Yes.
For fall, or the autumnal equinox, right? All right. So
right.
And y'all keep looking at this this calendar on the right so that y'all can see. Look, we just walked through the week. Count 7, 22, 29. So there's 1 week. The 5 to the 12. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go another one: 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. That puts us at the first fruits of new oil. Then you go over there in gray. You have trumpets. That's a week and a half away. 10 days away. So you have Yom Teruah on the 18th, and then you have that's the high Sabbath. We're going to count 10 days from there. That puts us in our other 10 days. So don't think that those 10 days on either side of that doesn't mean anything. It does. It absolutely means something. So on this side of it is 10 days of all. That brings us into Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and then we count another 5 days, and that brings us to Sukkot, and that starts on October the 2nd, and it ends on the 8th. And there is a high Sabbath, the first day, with a set-apart gathering on the first. On the first and 7th day, and then you have a regular Sabbath there in the middle of that. So there's 3 of them there, and then the day following is another high Sabbath. It's called the Great 8th Great Day, and that happens on October the 9th. And then our last day of remembrance comes in at the on the 17th, and that is going to line up somewhere around where the ancients would have had their ancient Saturnalia festival, and that's where you get Christmas from. If I remember my Christmas history correctly, they put that at the last day of the Saturnalia, and they did away with the Saturnalia. So, and that's how it ended up on the 25th. Something like that. Anyways, hey guys, you got anything to add?
I don't see no 13th month.
I could. You know what? I couldn't find one in the scriptures either.
Yeah, search it on eSword. It comes up as a big 0.
Look, but let me talk to y'all. Let's talk about this, because I don't want people to be divided because of what they heard today from Toby. I want y'all to understand this. There is no reason to be divided over this calendar, because the moon calendar that they keep is encompassed inside of this calendar. They're just not keeping the whole thing. They're not recognizing that there is so much more, and that to come into compliance with all of it, you're not able to just do this moon thing anymore. And all the stuff that doesn't come from scriptures, these rules about the moon that they have, that comes out of Judaism, and their fences around the scriptures, not actual scripture, right? They don't matter. That's that heavy burden. Part of that heavy burden that Yahshua accused the ones who were running the temple of placing on the people, so this is the name. Go ahead. Yeah.
I said that's a good way to put it. There's a lot of we're friends with a lot of people that they keep a moon calendar. We poke fun at each other all the time. We got pretty thick skin. It's hard to hurt our feelings, so we don't mind.
And don't think that people don't shoot them across the bowels of each other. I mean, it can get pretty lively now. I don't know if anybody's ever got to see a midrash where the people of Judaism get together, but I can tell you right now, whenever you got a bunch of these people who run, all that that are studied, and they get together and they start talking about these things. Hey, they are passionate about it. Voices get raised. Like, dude, it is totally, and they're not necessarily like yelling at each other in a contentious way. It's more like they're super passionate, and they're just, they can't talk normal because they are so into what they're doing. And so, you have these grown men yelling at each other, and if you didn't know what was going on, you would think that they were about to fight, but they're not.
You can relate, huh?
I can relate, and it's a part of their culture, so they get it, and so it's
Right.
how it is. Some of us really like this stuff, and we get into it, and so it's hard to hide our light under a bushel, if you will. We're gonna let it shine, right? Like,
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Ancient Hebrew, modern Hebrew names for the months. You can look there next to them, and it gives you the meanings, right? So I think it's kind of interesting. I've probably seen this enough. All right. So where we bring it back to those people, right? This is their stuff that we're looking at here. The things that we didn't know that come out of the caves, that are in the caves, right? Right here.
This is the fourth cave, right?
Yeah.
Matthew
Okay. So
3:20.
let's break that down. I didn't do that last time. Whenever you see this nomenclature, that's the fourth cave, right? 4Q means the fourth cave, and that's the 320th
Qumran.
document
It means
fragment
Qumran.
that they found, huh? Fourth Qumran
The
cave
Q
that they
stands
found.
for Qumran. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's the cave in Qumran.
Right.
And then the number on the end of it, that's the fragment
The document
number, or the
number
document number that it is.
Dedicate. Yeah.
So,
Right.
So as I said, we are in the final 45-ish days, right, of this year, and this is a Shemitah year for us. So this is a 7th year, and there are laws, rules, and ways that go along with the 7th year in regards to letting the land lay fallow. The ancient Babylonians came and overtook the Israelites and hauled them off into Babylon for 70 years. And that is because they did not keep the land Sabbath. So Yahweh calculated the 70 years by saying, okay, well, you get one per year. So 70 times 7, 490 years. They did not keep these. And so that's why they were in Babylon as slaves for 70 years, because every year that they weren't in the land, Yahweh counted it as the land having its rest. Let's bring it up to modern day. Hey, I can tell you right now that whenever I was in middle school, I learned about planting crops in different places. They called it crop rotation, and letting the land rest. And so it is something that modern day agricultural specialists will tell you is something that you need to do for your soil. There's also people who are specialists on trees and plants, and they'll tell you you need that 1 year. You need those years for the fruit to replenish. But
I got something
if
to
you
say
were in
about
Israel, go ahead.
I'll say something about the Shemitah. It doesn't matter which calendar you're on. If you find a group of people that's observing Shemitah, you know they've got a heart for the Father, because this is not easy. It's been over 300 days since we have had anything fresh to eat. No greens, no tomatoes, nothing. Everything's been canned, frozen, or dried.
Yep. To the best of our abilities, and is what we have done. And yeah, I mean, it's just trying to keep and learn the ways of the Most High, and you have to have a heart for the Father to get that deep into it, no doubt.
And I got 42 days until Rosh Hashanah, but we don't break the Shemitah until the first fruits are offered up, right? To the Father first.
That's correct.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right. Yep.
So it's 42 days to the head of the year. But plus we
Then
got
another.
another 26 right after that.
Yep. Well, what? No, 21, 22? Is it 22?
I thought it was the
But
26.
if you think about it, that would in the ancient cultures, they wouldn't have went to the grocery store and bought anything fresh. They wouldn't have had fruit waiting on them. They had to
No, they
grow
would have had the
before they,
harvest, right?
yes, they had to grow up before they could harvest it, and they're not going to partake of it until they give their first fruits to the Father.
Right.
And we live in a world where whenever we go to the store and we buy that stuff in a bag, that's all been processed, and it is not necessarily this year. We live in a different type of world than they did, a different society. So some of this stuff can
Well,
be
the
easier,
governments
some of it can
have
be way harder.
created this dependency system. I was talking to somebody, they said, just their grandparents, like 75 years ago, they only went to the grocery store every, once a month to grab like maybe luxury items, but they lived off the land. They had cellars full of food, but our modern conveniences have driven that away. And so people depend on the grocery stores. And now we see grocery stores go, the shelves go bare. And what can people do then? So we're to seek the ancient paths where the good way is. I think we're to return, get away from the cities, come out of Babylon. Did I lose everybody?
Yeah, man, I just saw like everybody just went quiet.
No, I'm here, brother.
I think Toby's muted. He may not know it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
may not know it.
No, I muted and turned my screen off. Just I don't know. I don't know if I'm like big or not, and so I just wanted to not be in anybody's way.
Well,
No,
since
you're
we're
not.
talking, since we're talking about that, that's what's going on now. Believe it or not, almost everywhere you go.
You sound far away.
You're getting your audio from your computer too, instead of your headset. If you have a headset on, something's echoing.
I had to shut this. How about now?
Much better.
Better?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I had the live performance. You guys gotta remind me if when I put music, I have to put that on. If not, you can't hear anything correctly. But anyways, what I was saying, that's what's future to come. The more these things get forgotten, and the more see, Yahushua is remembering us. He's reminding us. He's bringing us to that understanding. And like you said, everyone who loves him is gonna follow what he tells you. But in a more worldly, everything's going, like I said, it's all going backwards. Instead of a lot of the land is not being rested, it's just being overproduced, and like pretty much every mineral that you see is just being taken away and taken out. So they're pretty much just destroying the earth itself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You have scientists that are saying that comets and things are coming that are going to destroy the earth. Like it's havoc, it's chaos, but we all know this has to come. For us, we have a reassurance because what we don't have to. One thing I do understand is that if you follow Yahuwah and understand His word and you study it, you don't do a lot of compromising, and you don't do a lot of like antagonizing other people to believe what you have as truth. The Spirit should do that. The Ruach Kodesh, is the one that reveals all this.
It's their job. Yeah, it's the Ruach's job, isn't it?
It's the real job. So that's why I was listening to you. You're 100% correct. Are you going to get people that are not going to want to understand this? Well, the Torah is very clear. If the proof is there and you don't want to agree with it, well, then guess what? Your problem's with Yahuwah, not with us. You understand? And at the
Right. You didn't reject us. You rejected the ways of Yahuwah.
Yeah, because that's the whole purpose, about this channel. This channel is just a channel to get truth out there. I'm not putting myself in any other position that any other Talmidim did back in those days. You understand? They put themselves out there. They spoke truth. That's why I said I rather be associated with brothers that speak truth than people that speak lies. You know what I mean? Because people don't realize that, great judgment day is coming. No, Yahuwah's not coming this time with love and, love this. No, he's coming. He says he's coming to destroy. He's coming to punish. And it's either you let the Ruach Kodesh work with you, change your ways, learn the truth. So is it important to have the correct calendar? Yes, it is important, because guess what? Yahuwah knows his calendar, and he wants his children to know his calendar. But if you want to, contradict and make a big fuss and no, because of this and that, and you're following Judaism without even realizing it. You understand? It's like you said, that all this in the Dead Sea Scrolls is there. We were only given a portion of it. So we
were given a highly edited portion of it. Yes, a highly edited portion of it.
Exactly. So what's our job? Our job is to ask Father for knowledge, and our job is to do the research. Research. I always say it every time I'm on the channel. Brothers and sisters, just keep searching for the truth. Ask Father for the truth. Don't go into debates and discussions, because the word is very clear that the word of Yahuwah is not for debating and arguing. It's not for that. It's to develop discernment through other brothers and sisters. Now, Father's not going to reveal everything to one person. He's going to reveal it to the ones that are seeking. And those that seek will be revealed. And this is why I love these topics, because they're so interesting, and there's truth everywhere. I pray that Father keeps waking people up and, coming to this channel, because they're going to learn truth. And it's the Ruach Kodesh. It's not, we're just being used. So great job, Toby. Great job for everybody here. You understand? Because we're truth seekers, and we are showing the Father who we are. We are his Talmidim. We are his disciples. Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. Hallelujah. Sterling, did you have something?
No.
Good. Okay.
No, I'm good.
Let's read this real quick. And look, I just, I don't want to, I'm not trying to avoid this text, but there are some people who are highly devoted to learning the ways of Yah. And I consider them my brothers and my sisters. But they got their count off a little bit in regards to my count. And my count is based on historicals, items that are from the past, that show a date on them, and it's known when that date is. I got most of my dates from another man's research. His name was Joseph Dumont. He is a moon calendar fella. So it just because we don't agree with everybody on everything doesn't mean that they haven't been shown things that might be the puzzle piece to get us where we need to be, so that we can make these appointed times. So so I say that because at the end of the day, I'll tell you from my own personal experience, I went and talked to a man who had a congregation who kept the feast, and I told him I didn't understand how to keep them just based on what I read. I want to be shown what you understand. And that was my first encounter with a group of people keeping these feasts. Other than that, I was doing it by myself for 2 years, and trying to make sure that I was doing it. So, but these individuals, they had their Shemitah year last year. Last year was Judaism's Shemitah year as well. And they're saying this is their first year. Okay, now for us, we're coming out of our Shemitah year, and this new season is going to be our first of the year, our Abib. So this is a festival of the first year for us. They would have had their first year right now, so it's going to be their second year when we get to this next season in the month of Abib. So I'm pointing that out, and look. I've gone through and I've looked at all the moons in order to understand this and stuff. So that on this next slide that we're going to get to, but just know that, like, whenever we sit here and we talk to y'all about this stuff, it's not because we're just we know everything. It took us a while to get here, and we're not here to try to make people fight. We're trying to shed light on data that can bring us together, because ultimately, if we love Yahweh and we love his son, Yeshua, and we believe what Yeshua did on that cross for us, or on that death stake for us, then guess what? You're my brother, you're my sister. Like, and there's a certain way that we treat each other that Yeshua tells us. And I fall, we all fall. It's all good. Let's just make sure that we acknowledge it when we do and move forward, trying to, and Paul tells us love has no list of wrongs. It doesn't keep a running diary of everything that somebody's done wrong to you. If they're your brother, by the same measure that you give compassion, you'll receive compassion. So I encourage everybody to go ahead and soften your hearts and forgive your brother, forgive your sister, because you're going to get that same thing back from the Father whenever you have to stand before him. Okay. So, and that's the ultimate, like, why we should do it. So, all right. So,
Yes,
column
thank you.
3, the festival of the first year, on the 3rd day of the week for the sons of Maziah is Ma'aziah is the Passover. On the first day of Jedaphiah is the waving of the Omar, and on the 5th day of Sorim is the second Passover. On the first day of Yeshua is the Feast of Weeks. Isn't that interesting? That 4th day, right? Like, where it all is connected. Isn't that crazy, that name that shows up there? And dude, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but let's just hit that up real quick. Those names are the priestly orders. There's 24 of them. They take 6 years to run a full cycle, right? And so we're going to read about that a little bit more. But that is the priest that was appointed for that week. They each served 2 weeks. Some of them had to serve a little more than 2 weeks because we have 52 weeks in a year, not 48. There's 24 orders.
Read all about it.
Right.
Chronicles 24.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Chronicles 24 is where David wrote them down. So that's how you get that. So
25, right.
Say that one more time for everybody, so that they got them.
You can read about that in 1 Chronicles 24 of the priestly courses, and then also 1 Chronicles 25 lists the musician priest as well. So
okay, now that's been said, Yeshua is the Feast of Weeks. And so that's on the first year, right? The Sabbath of years. So it's day 1 on a week of 7 years. This is day 1, right? So it's a Sabbath of years, and it is interesting how Yeshua presides over that Sabbath of years. On the 4th day of Maziah is the day of remembrance, and on the 6th day of Ya'olarib is the day of atonement, and then on the 10th day of the month, on the 4th day of Jedediah is the Feast of Booths. So that's what the first year looks like, guys, and that's the purpose of understanding this. And for us this year, like, it's our first year, so we're starting off where well, let's go to the next slide. Here's DSS 4Q 321 alpha. The first, okay, so this is titled Lunar Calendar for the First Year, months 2 through 5. 4Q 321 alpha fragment 1, column 1. The first year, the full moon is on the 4th day of Gimel, on the first day of the first month. On the 5th day of Jediah, on the 30th day of the month, is the second full moon, and the first crescent is on the 6th day of Maziah. On the 17th of the month, the full moon is on the Sabbath of Cause, and on the 30th day of the second month, the first crescent is on the first day of Malachiah. And on the 17th of the month, the full moon is on the first day of Eliashib. And on the 29th day of the third month, the first crescent is on the second day of Yeshua, and on the 16th of the month. Look, I can read through all this. Y'all can see this. This is telling us when we can look up in the sky and we can observe signs. Okay, so for instance, this year, the first day of the month, of the first month, we should be able to look up and observe a full moon. As a matter of fact, there is going to be a full moon around the equinox. Okay, so it's right there, right? Now we can go another layer in. For all the viewers who are watching who have gone another layer in. Perhaps you could send us some of your the stuff that you've written down in your studies about this 24 priestly order that is going to overlay on this, right, in order to get down into the nuts and bolts of all these other guys. So that's the layer that I haven't fully dove into yet, and it's important. It'll be on the next. It'll be a couple slides from now. But why that's important? Because here's the deal: there's not just a lunar. So this is some of the lunar stuff that we can derive from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I do have a good friend of mine. I consider a brother who we have looked into the moons before, and he will tell people, because I haven't talked to him about this, that he asked me a question about it and kind of had a stump the chump moment with me. But we're all learning, and it was regarding the moons. I was talking to him about the sun. And so, I've furthered my knowledge greatly, especially in regards to this stuff. So if my friend is watching, you know who you are. Go into the Dead Sea Scrolls and check this stuff out. Like, if, here it is. Like, these are the writings that we can draw so much from. So don't just take my word on this. Go in there, pull up a spreadsheet, list them out, start working through it. Right. So, all right, next one. DSS, Dead Sea Scrolls, 4Q216, the Sabbath day, which we see in Genesis 2:1-2. They're trying to line these up with what we see in the text that we have. So that's what they're trying to do with these Dead Sea Scrolls when you see these numbers. This wasn't really in there because they didn't really have chapters and verses necessarily. In the originals, they didn't have like punctuation as we understand and stuff like that. So the ancient writing is a little bit different. This is just trying to let the modern day reader know where this would line up at, okay, whenever they went in and, so Sabbath day, 2:17, Genesis 2:1-2, and then 2:17. He gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day on which he rested. There's a corruption in the text right there. And then we're made in 6 days, and we should rest on the seventh day from all our work, for we, with all the angels of the presence and the angels of holiness or set apartness, these two kinds, he told us to keep Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. He said to us, listen to this, guys. This is why this is so important right here. This is it. If you don't hear anything else tonight, I want you to hear what they're saying right now. The Most High addressed the angels that he made two kinds of in the heavens, and he told us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. He said to us, I am separating for myself a people from among my nations, and they, notice how that's plural, and they shall keep the Sabbath. I will consecrate them as my people, and I will baruch them. They will be my people, and I will be their Elohim. You go ahead and you keep the Sabbath on Sunday if that's what you feel led to do. But according to this right here, his people keep it on the day that he says to keep it on. So I don't know about y'all, and I'm not trying to use some debate tactic where if you're not doing it like me, then you're not going to heaven. It's not what I'm trying to do. But what I am trying to do is lean on this text and show the reader that are not or the viewer here in this case that he told his angels to keep it in heaven and on earth, and that he separated people from among the nations, and they are to keep the Sabbath. Thank you. I will consecrate them as my people. If you ain't keeping his Sabbaths, doing his ways, I want you to know you might see fruits in your life, you might see blessings in your life, but I just want you to know that according to his words, his people, this is what his people do. So if you're not doing what his people do, then you might not be his. Okay, Matthew 7:21. Yeshua. Look, I hear you. There's all kinds of people screaming at their screens right now saying, Toby, John 3:16, Joby, John 3:16. Right. Look at the very last verse in John 3, okay? After you read John 3:16, go to the very last verse and tell me what that says, right? And also go to Matthew 7:21. Read it through 7:23. Tell me what that says. It does not say anywhere in there that he won't reject you. It actually says that people come to him and call him master, master on that day, and he rejects them. Said, I never knew you, you worker of lawlessness. What is lawlessness? It's not keeping the law. What is the law? It's his ways. What does his ways dictate for us? Fourth command, right? That fourth word, Sabbath, keep them set apart. If you're not showing up here, if you're not showing up to where he says that his Sabbaths are, to his appointments, he consecrated people from the earth is what he says to keep them. So if you're not keeping them, you must not be a part of the group. I want to be a part of that group. So I've sought these matters out and I try to keep them, because nobody came and told me this in my ear, so this isn't some secret somebody whispered to me. These are in texts that I went and found. Some of them I had to purchase, right? But they are not too far away for anybody that's listening right now to get a hold of. Right now, the day and age, knowledge is increased, and you can get a hold of these texts. But heed the warning. That day we're standing in front of him, you ain't going to be able to say you didn't know, because he's going to pull up this right here. He's going to say, right here, go ahead. And he's going to show you that you knew, but you chose to do something else, and I know we all sometimes do our own thing. I'm not perfect. I'm not even close to it. I'm a wretched man. But I want to learn, and I want to keep the ways of the Most High, because his people do that, right? So moving on, Abraham's night watch. There's another place where you can find this, and we're going to continue into the book of Jubilees, but I want to say there is another source for this, and it is in the Clementine homilies. You can find it. It's one of the teachings of Kepha. Then is Peter, in his Hebrew name is Kepha. Clement wrote down his sermon, and he talks about this and talks about what he saw whenever he looked up in the sky. So I want you to know this isn't the only place where we can find a story like this, but let's go ahead and read this because this is super old. This is the oldest one we got. So Abraham's night watch. Fragment 8. This is 11. So that means that it was found in the 11th cave at Qumran, and it's the 12th document that they found. This is fragment 8 of that document. Okay. With Terah, his father, in Haran for 2 weeks of years, and in the 6th week, in its 5th year, Abram, set up through the night on the 1st day of the 7th month. All right, what is that? We just looked at that. 1st day, 7th month. It kind of falls at a weird time for us, but who knows when that is?
Yom Teruah is trumpets.
That's it, right there, Yom Teruah, right? So for the viewing audience, Yom Teruah, that's the 1st day of the 7th month, according to the Zadok calendar, the priestly calendar, okay? So on this day, you see all this lines up whenever you get into it, guys. It gets super interesting and compelling. And if you don't think it does, go into the Torah and into the books of the prophets. Ezekiel, if you don't think that they were observing things like these Zadokites do, go and look at Ezekiel and the days that it gives. It is super interesting. Ezekiel 44, super interesting too. What it says there, I think it's somewhere around verse 16. I'm not positive though, so don't quote me on that. But anyways, so on the 1st day of the 7th month is what this is saying. He stayed up to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, okay, in order to see what kind of year it would be in respect to the rains. And while he was sitting alone and observing, a word came to his heart that said, all the signs of the stars. Yeah, breaking the text, right? No. We need to hear this, right? So we can see the rest in Jubilees. So let's go to Jubilees. We're in Jubilees 12, and I'm going to start right in the middle of, or close to the beginning of 16. Abraham set up throughout the night on the new moon, or the new month of the 7th, the 1st day of the 7th month, to observe the stars. Look, I don't say that because a lot of these translations has a lot of Judaism in it, and they celebrate all the moons. We don't celebrate all the moons. We celebrate 4 seasons. If you go in, you look, there's a difference between the word that's there that they're saying is moon and what the actual word is. It's moon is your rock. It doesn't have that there. So it's a renewed month. You can go do a word study on that. Please do look into it. If you already have, great. I'm presenting maybe something that you didn't know before, but these texts are what have led me to understand that these Dead Sea Scrolls that that you're not supposed to celebrate every moon. So anyways, Abraham set up throughout the night on the first day of the 7th month, even in the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed, and a word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars. That's where that text left off. Here's where we pick up right here. And the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of Yahuwah. Why do I search them out? If he desireth, he causes it to rain, morning and evening. And if he desireth, he withholds it. And all things are in his hand. Here it is, guys. This is my favorite part of this. And he prayed that night and said, and this is my prayer too, as I speak this out. I want y'all to understand. I prayed this to Yahweh myself. My Elohim Most High, thou alone art my Elohim, and thee and thy dominion have I chosen. And thou hast created all things, and all things that are the work of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my Elohim, and establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. He's done, right? You see that in the quotations. And he said, shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them? Or am I to remain here in this place? The right path before thee, prosper it in the hands of thy servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in deceitfulness of my heart, O Elohim. No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's where he ends his prayer, right? And he made an end of speaking and praying, and behold, the word of Yahuwah was sent to him through me, saying, get thee up from thy country and from thy kindred. Me. The word was sent to him through me. That me that is in the text is an angel. A messenger is how we would understand it more perfectly in the Hebrew. So I don't know about y'all, but that right there is my heart's desire. I want my lot to be with the Most High. I don't care about nothing else. Like, that's it. That's, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters to me is that my lot is with the Most High, and that he keeps my seed close to him, and that, he doesn't allow these unclean spirits to lead us off away from him. So,
Amen.
That's good. That's so good. That adds so much to the story. Makes it come
right.
alive.
It's what we didn't know. I mean, if you are watching this and you never really got into some of this stuff, and you go back on, Sunday morning to you're like what I came out of, to the Baptist church, it's going to make life really boring. Like, because there is just so much stuff that you're not given, man. There's so much stuff you're not given. There's a lot of stuff that guy standing up there teaching everybody was ill prepared for. The seminary didn't give it to them, so but it is what it is. We can talk about that in just a minute. We only got a couple more to go through, so let's just read through these real quick, make sure we finish it all. So Dead Sea Scrolls 4Q252, fragment 1. In the 480th year of Noah's life, he came to the end of them, and Yahweh, and said, my spirit shall not dwell with man forever. There shall be determined to be 120 years until the waters of the flood come. And the waters of the flood came upon the earth in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on Sunday, which is the first day of the week, the 17th. Okay. On the day, all the fountains of the great deep were rent, and the windows of heavens were open, and the rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights until the 26th day of the third month. On Thursday, the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days until the 14th day of the seventh month on Tuesday. And at the end of the 150th day, the waters decreased for 2 days, day 4 and day 5. And on the 10th, sixth day, the ark, they came to rest upon Mount Ararat. That was the 17th day of the seventh month. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. On the first of the month, on the fourth day, the tops of the mountains appeared. At the end of 40 days, at the appearance of the tops of the mountains, Noah opened the window of the ark. It was the second day of the 10th of the 11th month. He sent out the dove to see if the waters had subsided, but it found no roosting place and came back to him on the ark. He waited another 7 days, and it sent it out, and it came to him in its beak with a freshly plucked olive leaf. This was the 24th day of the 11th month, on the first day of the week. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth, and at the end of another 7 days, he sent out the dove, and it did not return to him again. This was the first day of the 12th month. Okay, listen to that, first day of the 12th month. Now listen what comes on next. On day 1 of the week, and at the end of 31 days. Okay, if it's the end of the 12th month, at the end of, it's 30, 30, 30, 31, right? That's the reason why I'm reading this to you, is because you can go back and you can look at this calendar and that I showed you on those right-hand side from torahislight.org, and you can go and you can look at plot these days, and you're going to see that Yahweh does not transgress his Sabbaths, and that here we are. Let's get down to the last word. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, the earth was dry on day 1 of the week. And on that day, Noah went out of the ark at the end of an exact year, 364 days, on the first day of the week, on Sunday. Okay, so he 364 days from this. My spirit won't deal with mankind forever, 120 years. And in the 600th year of the life of Noah, on the second month, on the 17th, on that day, are the fountains of the great deep were rent open. So 1 year, 364 days later from that time, Noah stepped out of that ark. Every single date that you find, whenever you see it put like these, it matters. It means something, and it either is going to line up or it's not. And if it doesn't, that means somebody messed with it. Okay, so let's surmise this. The summation of the overview of what you don't know about the Dead Sea Scrolls. The calendar of the Dead Sea Scrolls plots time using 5 different cycles. Look, guys, I just want to say I got most of this that I'm going to read right here. I got this out of this book that I've already given credit to. So I just want y'all to know that. Okay. None of the calendars use them all, but frequently more than one cycle appears in the same work. These cycles are as follows, beginning with the shortest. Okay. So these are the 5 different cycles, right? So the 364-day year, that's the shortest. Some writers further divide the year into 4 equal quarters of 13 weeks, each 91 days. Priestly service as the season change, and that's in text 77 of the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's an example of such work. Each quarter comprises of 3 solar months, 30, 30, 31, all right? So, or 30, 30, 30 plus 1, right? So it's the same thing, respectively. The year begins in the spring, and the New Year's Day 1 on day 1 of month 7 is always on a Wednesday. The reason is that the writers understood time to begin only with the 4th day of creation, which was a Wednesday in our culture, when Yahweh made the sun. I didn't write that, but Yahweh made the sun, moon, and stars. The Sabbaths and the festivals of the year in text 99 is an example of a 1-year calendar. A 3-year lunar cycle is number 2 of 5. The lunar months, as opposed to the solar months above, alternate between 29 and 30 days long. The cycle always beginning with a 29th day month, a 29-day month. After 36 lunar months, the moon is exactly 30 days behind the solar calendar. Then a 30-day leap month is added to synchronize the sun and the moon once again. Y'all, that just described Judaism. They every 3 years you wind up at the number 1092. And at 1092 is where they rectify everything, and they have what's called an Adar bet, all right, in Judaism, and that's the 13th month that we were referring to earlier. That's not found anywhere in Scripture, okay? And that's what that's talking about right there, is that a 3-year cycle where it lines it back up because it's 10 days shy, right? So 3 years times 10, that's 30, right? So you have 30 days, and then you do your reset. You get your extra month, and then you start over again. All right. So a 6-year cycle. So this is the third cycle that they use of the 5. A 6-year cycle of priestly service in the temple, 24 priestly divisions. Like I already said, 24 courses. It takes 6 years for them to complete the whole thing and start over again. They took turns serving in the temple. Each division would serve for a week, then rotate out as a new division arrived. Because there were 24 divisions, for the 52 weeks of the solar calendar, each division would serve twice a year, and 4 divisions would serve a third week. 6 years were needed to equalize the courses. That is, only after 6 years would all have served the same number of weeks. This 6-year cycle is very important for the scroll writers. They name years and other periods of time according to the priestly division in service at the point of question. We've looked at documents that do that as such in Gamol, in Yeshua, right? Like that's what it's talking about right here. The names of the priestly divisions are found in 1 Chronicles 24, 7 through 18, as our brother Sterling has told us. You can also synchronistic calendars text 721. Text 721, is a good example of a calendar employing the priestly cycle. So 49, so this is the next one, a 49-year cycle called a Jubilee. So this is the 4th cycle, so the Jubilee cycle. Now, whenever it says 120 years, I think that word there in Genesis is not years. It is Shana or Shanae, depending on what tense you use it in, and that means cycles. And I believe that these are the cycles that are most known about the Jubilee cycle, the 49. And we see that type and shadow in the feast and festivals itself, 7 weeks of 7. So I think that cycle that it's talking about is not years, 120 years. I don't see very many people living to 120 years old. So I don't think he set man's age to that. We did see in that text, that's how many years it was until Noah had the flood. But I think that it's more in line with this right here, this cycle, this 49-year cycle. And then a 294-year cycle of 6 jubilees, right? We got the 6 years inside of the 7 that it takes, and then we got 6 jubilees cycles, and that's 294 years. This is the cycle that plots a rare occurrence, the service of the first priestly division named Gamol on New Year's Day at the beginning of a Jubilee period. 294 years would pass between the occurrences. The scroll writers believe that this situation reprised that of the 4th day of creation. The only text that mentions this cycle is Calendar of the Heavenly Signs, text 71. All right, so that's the end of this. Any questions? I wanted to read you something. Look, guys, none of this is up here for contention. I want you to understand how they would have seen it back then. If you understand what the 2 different models are, we have a heliocentric, which is what we're taught today, and they understood a geocentric model. Okay, so that geocentric model means that they would have understood the sun, the moon, and the stars to have courses around the earth, and the heliocentric says that we have the sun standing still, and the earth and the moon and the stars, we spin around it, not the other way around. So once again, none of this causes division. This is so that we can all be working on the same sheet of data. Nikola Tesla, we've all heard of him, very respected inventor, scientist, and I think that he was probably smarter than Einstein. This is what he said about Einstein's theory of relativity, and that theory of relativity is ultimately, that's how we get this heliocentric model that we understand today, was because of this, right? And so Nikola Tesla in 1935, he lived the same time this guy did. He said this: Einstein's relativity work is a magnificent mathematical garb which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. right? So let's just talk about these real quick, just so that we can understand the physical makeup of what we're looking at here, right? All right, at the top, I keep saying that these things have courses. You'll see that it looks like a clock. Well, that sun and the moon there, they're going to spin around in between those two lighter colored lines, moving on either side of that red line. Those are what we understand to be the tropics, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and the center line is going to be the equator. When I'm a military trained pilot. Whenever I look to fly things, I look at maps that look like more very similar to this. And that's how I know what those lines are. And so that line of Tropic and Cancer, that's where the sun moves in between and out of. That's how we get summer and winter. The sun moves in and it gives us summer. The sun moves out, it gives us winter. With the moon, regarding the moon, there's different ways that you can plot the moon. If you look down at this second picture, the ways that it's plotted to show its movements, the pattern looks like a flower. It's because it goes in and out, in and out, in and out. And it looks something like what this left-handed picture of the earth looks like, right? And now that's the Gulf Stream. And whenever you put that, that's what it looks like on a globe, all right, on a sphere. But whenever you plot that onto a map that's generally flat, that's like inside of a terrarium type deal under a dome, right? That's why I use terrarium. What you end up with is something that looks like that circle on the right, where it's no longer going in and out, you know, but it's actually making a circle around. That's what it looks like in what I believe the way that the physical earth looks like. That's what the Gulf Stream actually looks like. It doesn't go up and bend in greater than 90 degrees and cut back on itself. It's not doing that for real. Like that's just how their models make it look. And then the other thing I want to kind of pile onto that is I just want to look real quick at this third picture. It's showing how light reflects off of a surface. We've all seen, you know, this reality, this picture on the right where it shows the sun reflecting off of the water. We've all seen that in some, you know, in some capacity. If it was a curved surface, it would look like that top picture on the left, where it says curved surface. That light can't bend around that on the water. And so it's not able to give you that long stretch of light like you see there next to it. But that flat surface, and this is done in a lab. That's the reason why it looks like that. These are lab results of what we see in reality. So for those of y'all that, you know, I wanted y'all to see that this was the world that they lived in. It doesn't have anything to do with modern debates on flat, not flat, whatever. I'm just trying to present to y'all what they knew, the things that y'all didn't know that they knew that was involved in this text. So with that, are there any questions? I'm done, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to release it back to the group or to Jose, whoever, and we can talk about this. Or Jose, I think we were around our 2-hour time point. So back to you and how you want to handle things.
Amen. Like as always, thank you, Toby, because you know, like I said, you're highly smart, and Father uses you in great and amazing ways. Yep, we're at the limit of 2 hours, but I just want to mention that we are in you know, it's just about knowledge, and with this Thursday it's going to be another amazing. Sterling's got something, you know, planned. Very, you know, I'm interested. We're gonna have another speaker. As always, like I said, it's the coordinator Sterling, and you know, I would like Toby to be back on Tuesday again with whatever y'all gives them, Yahuwah gives them, because you know, I think there's a lot more in the Dead Sea Scrolls that we should know. And like I said, for anyone that is listening, whether now or in the future, please, if you missed, please go back to the video, because there's a lot of information on the video. I mean, Toby has done an amazing job in explaining, and also I'm pretty sure he's got more to give. You know, but like I said, his last 2 shows were amazing. You know, which I mean, this show including, and I'm just very happy to have him here. And always with the participants of Sterling, Scott, Drew, and Drew Bishop. You know, I love the family, love you guys. I love everyone that listens to me or listens to them and is on the channel. Always like as always, please like and subscribe. You know, and if people don't know about this channel, please let them know. Talk to them about it. I mean, the more we get, that means the more people get to know this information, because it's for me it's crucial. But like I said, we're not debating, we're just presenting truth, and we respect everyone's opinion. We still love everyone, like as Toby has said before. We just want to get all this information out there. You research, you pray, you have Father reveal to you, and and that's all that matters, is that everyone is getting to be fulfilled with the word of truth. And I think that's so. Without further ado, guys, please go back on your video and unmute and say tell everyone good night, and then I'll end the show.
I'll start it off since I presented, and I'm unmuted already, and y'all can see me. Thank y'all so much, everybody that joined me tonight. Jose, Drew, Sterling, Scott. Thank y'all for all y'all support in doing this and uncovering these things for our viewers. And I just want to emphasize that you can reach out to Jose on his channel, and we can provide you a copy of the calendar. You don't have to pay for it from anybody. We are not making money off of this. That's not what we're here for.
Shalom.
Shalom. Great job, Toby.
Shalom, brother. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Toby. It was really good. You did a good job preparing for this. I appreciate that. Next on Thursday, I have just what I thought was, we have another guest coming on, and we could just have a discussion, just to kind of open mic, and kind of have a couple people discuss whatever is on your heart. I'm sure it'll be a lot of calendar stuff, but I have a special guest lined up. I want you to come back, Toby, please, and Drew. I think you guys will have a lot to share with the guests on Thursday. And then I have another guest lined up for Tuesday, which I'm going to try to do something. I don't know if I can, but we'll see. So I'm excited about Thursday coming up. And next Tuesday, I'm going to bring more people in that hopefully it'll just bloom discussion over calendar. So I'm excited to see what transpires. So shalom, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and get the word out. We're working on making it better. We're new to this, so bear with us. Thanks.
All right, Scott with a T.
Shalom, and good night, everybody. And Toby, just masterful stuff, man. The Father is genuinely working through you, and it's such a privilege and a blessing for me to be able to sit here and just be a student and soak this stuff in and ask questions and have answers when it's relevant. And it's just a pure pleasure. And thank you, Jose, for hosting this, and to Sterling for setting this stuff up, man, and booking these awesome people to get on here. So thank you so much. Shalom. Good night, everybody.
Good night, man.
One more thing I wanted to add. In the chat, I've placed a couple links to like the calendar, Torah is like calendars in there. I also got a link to a free copy of PDF of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And did I put anything else in there? No, I think that's it. Just those two copies. But if you want to get that, it's available there in the chat.
Amen. Amen. So, well, that was enough said. Praise Yahweh for this wonderful teaching. I loved it. And thanks to all the guys for being on, and all those that are on chat. And Toby, doesn't even matter if you're going to present something, or you can always come on. You're part of the family, brother. You can always come on. Don't even worry about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Shalom,
you guys
y'all.
have a great night and get some rest. All right.